right. How's it going, Vikings fans and everybody? Welcome into, is it the third episode of Skol Experience already? Been doing it 3 weeks?
I think we're number 5, man.
Number 5, 4, 3, something. I don't know.
Done a lot of them. The weeks just kind of run together this season. This week we are joined by Shelby Tweeten. How's it going tonight?
So good. Amazing. Feeling good. 10-2.
10-2 is pretty exciting. I was at the game this past Sunday. I was hands on my knees, exhausted by the end of that thing. It was like every game has been this year.
Yeah,
it's been an up and down experience. I think in the set before the game, I told the group I was with that I had never been to a live Minnesota Vikings loss. I was taking a lot of flack for that, especially when the second half happened. And then in the first half, I looked at my friend and I said, I think this is going to be the first game where we have a stress-free win. And one of those things was not true, but one of them was the most important one: the Minnesota Vikings pulling out the W. But yeah, 10-2. If somebody told any of us beginning of the season we'd be 10-2, even with all the stress, you're going to take it 11 times out of 10. So it's been a ton of fun. Shelby, want to ask, how did you come into Vikings fandom? Are you from Minnesota originally, or what's the story?
I'm from Mankato.
Okay.
So
last time I checked, that's in Minnesota, Casey, in case you didn't know.
It's where Vikings training camp was.
Yes, it was.
Awesome. Basically, my dad is a diehard fan, and then I just have a football family in general, and being in Mankato was like every summer we would go to training camp, and then when I was 5, my dad would get one free game a year from his work, and then it just became every year me and my dad went to a game because my birthday's December 19th, his is the 29th, so there was always a game either on one of our birthdays or around it, and then that just kind of became our thing. And then when Adrian Peterson started, I was like, okay, teach me the game. I actually want to learn. I want to, be as invested as you. And then it was all just kind of downhill from there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Before moving on here,
Purple Pocket Podcast wrap. Thanks for joining. Appreciate the viewership.
Let me bring this up, Dave. I'll let you go through all of this.
Yeah, we got friends of the channel, Purple and Gold for Days. I do a show with him. We did one yesterday. We interviewed Greg Coleman. Go check that out on Minnesota Sports Talk. Purple Pocket Podcast, who just joined us. We do a show Tuesday and Thursdays, and in post game on Sundays at 9:15. A GG Sports Podcast. You're looking at the two handsome guys right here, and the Purple Code is where all of us do at least one show a week. So those are the friends of family. We're partnered with Fanatics. It is not good as Shelby's website, which is called thatshit.org/Skol. But hey, Fanatics is almost there. Go buy some stuff on Fanatics. Help support the channel. You actually have to copy and paste the links that I got in my description of the video, but that helps out the channel. And the next, we are partnered with checkforeman44.com. We're giving away on one of my shows on Tuesday next week. We're giving away the Spin Doctor bobblehead. You see, it's autographed by Check Foreman, and the jersey behind me is autographed by Check Foreman. We're giving away that January 3rd. Make sure you hit subscribe, like, and leave a comment, and you'll be entered to win the contest. I do not throw away entries. And Shelby, you're eligible, even though you're a friend of the channel. So we're good.
Cool.
Right. So obviously we're here to talk some ball, but first off, so Shelby, I heard from Dave that you had a little experience on American Idol back in the day. I want to know a little bit about that before we start talking ball.
By the way, just a little tidbit on that. Jennifer Lopez said she had a beautiful voice. Take it away, Shelby.
Yeah, so I was in high school and I was 17, and I kind of just, I wouldn't even call myself a singer. I think I was just overly confident and was like, let's just go for it. And me and my family kind of made it like a road trip. So we road tripped to Colorado, and the only goal was to make it past cattle call round. And, we tented, we went whitewater rafting. So that alone was just such an amazing trip. And then I just made it, and then I kept making it, and then I kept making it, and then all of a sudden they're in my hometown, and they're at my school, and they're at my house, and then I go to Hollywood Week, and I actually turned 18 the day I made top 40. And then right before top 20, it was like, there's one spot left. It was between me and 2 other girls, and I was not that spot.
But hey, that's still a pretty remarkable run. Like that's because I've heard it's hard to even get, like, it's impossible to get to that point pretty much. So getting that far is still pretty impressive.
Yeah, looking back, it's because just Denver alone, there was 11,000 people that auditioned, and I was the last girl standing from Denver. So when you think about it in that way, it's crazy. I still have like lifelong friends. Just talked to one of the producers from the show today. So it was just such an amazing experience, and it brought a lot of like doors for me. I got to sing the anthem for the Vikings twice, actually.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So no complaints. I think that it's one of the best experiences of my life.
Yeah.
Can we find that on YouTube? You doing the national anthem?
You can.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go
look into that. So now let's talk.
My name.
Let me ask this question real quick.
Go ahead.
You are pretty prominent on Twitter. The fact that it's Shelby Tweeten, was that? I mean, did you like? Well, Twitter, that's my home now because my name is Shelby Tweeten. How'd that work out? I mean, is your last name Tweeten?
It is. And
that's so coincidental.
When Twitter came out, everyone was like, Shelby, you have to get a Twitter. You have to get a Twitter. And then for a while, my name was like Shelby B. Tweeten on
cool
Twitter.
Too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually was on Idol, and they were the ones that were like, you need to just do your name. But then even that, it's Shelby Tweeten. So it's just funny. But people didn't, like, my name is spelled Tweten. And a bunch of people were just like, oh, well, you should just put Tweeten, like Tweetin. So that's why it says like Shelby, quote unquote.
In quote, yeah. And I used them in our I used it in our thumbnail as quotes because I did think your name was spelled differently. So hey, I helped you.
I appreciate that.
But go ahead, Casey.
Let's jump into some football here.
Yeah.
Rap of Purple Pocket Podcast wants you to tell us your feelings about Kirk Cousins.
Oh, I'm a Kirk stan, baby. I go so hard for Kirk. I think that, one, he's just such an amazing guy, and I think that he really brings so much heart to the team. And, you know, you look at a lot of quarterbacks from the other team, and they're either lifeless or they're overly cocky. You look at, I'm a Rodgers hater till the day I die.
Yeah.
You know, he's someone, he doesn't bring that heart to the team. Like, people go so hard for Kirk. His teammates love him. He makes big plays. He stays consistent. He's only missed 2 games since he's been a Viking. And I love him. I love him. I love seeing this year how he's really like come out of his shell and shown more of his personality. And he makes those big plays, and he seems to have made a great relationship with Jefferson, which I think is going to be really beneficial. As it already has, obviously.
Yeah.
A quick point to Purple Pocket Podcast. Shelby hates Aaron Rodgers. You would want him on the next. You would want him on the next team the next day. So that's the difference between Shelby B. Tweeten and Purple Pocket Podcast. But hey, I actually have proof of your love for Kirk Cousins. This last show or this last game, Shelby Tweeten, quote unquote, I love Kirk's balls this year. Laughing emoji. Like, fuck it. I'll just run. Ha, 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 ha.
Fuck it.
Yeah. Well, that's like 3 games in a row now that he's taken off for a big run.
Well, that's
he's
the
ballsy.
thing. And that's the thing. Like, when you
talk
about
Kirk that we saw.
When you talk about the heart of Kirk Cousins, when you talk about the heart of Kirk Cousins, there's 2 plays in this last game that really just show you that. The first one was when he did decide to just run, lowers the shoulder, barrels into a defender. And the second one is the one you would just respect when you watch him play, was the deep shot to Rager when he just took the huge hit right to the ribs. Luckily, he's wearing those rib protectors, but he doesn't lay around. He doesn't get up like Rodgers and wince and like look at the hand like he's hurt. He just gets back up, walks into the huddle, and just starts calling the next play.
And then hold a press conference and blame all your teammates.
Or wait to the end of the season to make an excuse that you've been injured all season long. Yeah, and that's why you guys aren't any good.
And flip off Anthony Barr for tackling you.
Yeah. So back to Jalen Reagor though. So he's someone I feel like we're underutilizing big time. What do you feel about that? Like, because we haven't seen tons from KJ Osborne. I do feel like Thielen, you're from Mankato, so you're probably are you a big Thielen fan?
I was friends with him in college, so it's kind of weird to be like, I'm a Thielen fan, but yeah, I love him. I think that he's great. I think that getting a little old,
but he's still good though. He's still good and reliable. I mean, maybe
he hasn't dropped a pass this year according to PFF, so
even though he was surprised by that one himself.
Yeah.
But do you think that Jalen Reagor is do you think we should utilize him more? I don't know, because I think we should. It seems like every time we get the ball in his hands at this point, something positive comes from it. Especially, I mean, that big catch was huge last game.
Yeah, no, I've been saying that for a while. I think I tweeted about it, but
actually you did. And let me read that really quick. Okay, we getting what we wanted, more utilization of Reagor, and I love it. And I think this is clappy hands. I don't know what that. I think that's clappy hands, Skol Vikings. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think that. Look, I like KJ Osborne, and obviously in the beginning of the season he made some big plays, and we kind of were like, oh wow, like we have a good, wide receiver 3 option. But Reagor, one, people don't expect him at all. So when I think he's on the field, that's one of the biggest reasons he's been able to make those plays, is because you're not really thinking about him in the grand scheme of things. So that is one reason I like how much we're utilizing him, just because he's more of like a secret threat.
Right.
But at the same time, this game last week, again, just shows me I do get a little nervous when we have really good secondary teams, because I feel like Jefferson does not perform as well as he does. And having like multiple factors, multiple receivers, you got Hawkinson, being able to take that away, I think would be really great. But yeah, I was really happy. I was in the middle of Dave and Buster's, and I was like, yes, fucking Reagor. It was crazy. But
yeah, I think you made a comment at the end at the end of the game. He was I saw him interviewed in a tunnel or something like that, and he was like, we've been practicing that play all week. He threw it to to where where he had open green to go run and get. So, with Reagor, it's speed kills, and honestly, the 2 times I've seen him catch the ball, it's been with his hands. So it's I think he's got it. I think he's just not seeing enough snaps. And he was our highest PFF grade on offense, even though he only played like 2 snaps in the game.
Yeah.
I think another thing is I saw O'Connell was saying that he just hasn't been able to kind of come into the offense as easily. Like, we talked about Hawkinson being able to pick up the playbook in a week. Like, that was crazy. But Reagor, I guess, from what I read, it's just he's kind of been a little slower, like, getting into the offensive scheme. So maybe that's why we're not utilizing him as much, but I definitely see like an exciting future for him.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're going to need all the help we can get going into this potential division clinching game in Detroit. Now, me and Jamie go back and forth on this. I am kind of a closeted Lions fan. I think is in the fact not like a fan.
Wait.
Is in like the fact that I think they're a very talented
news
team.
To me.
I think they're a very talented team, and I'm actually kind of like behind the shades, cheering for them because.
Wait, not against us.
No, not against
us.
Just, like
you need to chill out with this.
I'm sorry, Shelby. I can't believe we brought you on and you had to hear this. I don't know. Next, we're not going to bring you on Packers week. That's for sure. Case will be sharing his love for green and yellow.
No, never. But people are kind of, like the Lions, like the little brother, like the one
it is.
Now it's you're not in love with them. You're in like with them.
Well, you like them because they lose to us every time.
I think I just like they're the little brother that gets bullied all the time because nobody thinks they're any good, but deep down they actually have a lot of heart. They're a good football team. They got a lot of talent, and I think they're going to test us this week. I think we match up. I think we're pretty even. I mean, obviously you take Kirk over Goff, you take JJ over St. Brown, even though I'm a huge St. Brown guy. Running backs, I think, are pretty even. They have the offensive line for sure. Defenses are pretty even, which is why I think, like I've been saying it all week, the over-under is 51.5, and I'd be hammering the over. I was predicting 31-30. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to end up being a shootout. I think it's going to be a fun one. I do think the Vikings obviously will pull it out and win the division, but I'm just curious what everybody else's thoughts are on this game. I think the Lions are a tough matchup.
Like I said,
I agree.
I'll let Shelby take it from here, actually. Shelby, what do you think?
Oh, I was going to say I agree. I'm actually going to be in Detroit. So I think that's the best luck we have. But I was at the other Lions game, and that I was very stressed, and that obviously was, a shootout as well. They do scare me. I definitely can't say I love them or even like them, but I don't think that they're garbage by any means.
Yeah, he's been saying this all week.
Yeah, because he does have heart. They do have heart. They have a crazy offensive line. They have a good offense. I think that they just don't have the specific things that they need, or they're not, because that's the thing. They do have like solid weapons, but I also think Hawkinson's going to go in with a lot of heart to that game. I think that's going to be really huge. And then we're going to see some big plays by Jefferson again. Our defense was really the biggest issue in the Lions game. We were doing like zone coverage and not man on man. I think we're going to go in with a completely different offensive scheme, which I think will be the biggest game changer for us. But I'm excited. I know it's going to be a good game. I do think that we're going to win, but I think as well that it's going to be a little tough.
Let me get some shout outs. I guess Colton Neslin, nice pick, man. That's epic. Lions suck, plain and simple. We got YouTube royalty on here. We got Grandizer 12, who is the straw that stirs the drink on YouTube. We got Jade from Sports and Stars with Jade. She's I believe the only Viking female podcaster that does live play-by-play on YouTube, which is pretty awesome. You should check her out, Shelby. Too Evil to Hope. I still hate you, so go on to another show. No, I'm kidding, man. I love that you're here, man. He's my antagonist on this. Purple Pocket Podcast is for sure, but him and Too Evil to Hope are a tag team against me, so they love to show up. But hey, thanks for guys for showing up. And yes, I had sum it up. I can't even read that. Sorry. Yes, I had to sum it up about Detroit. They're trash. I mean, come on. That's obvious. Well, they've won 4 of their last 5. This is the NFL. These guys are getting paid to play football. I too, and I'm going to answer your question. It was either Casey or Jamie. I think it's a tough matchup this week for the fact that our defense has given up a lot of yardage, and all it'll take is them to get the ball at the 40 and the 50 instead of the 20 and the 30. And they'll have a chance to. Our defense gives up a lot of yards, and the only thing that's helping them is that we're pinning teams deep, and they always have to go the length of the field. And as long as we're on special teams, we might get this same result where we win another close one. I would like us to come out and finally win 2 games, much like you, Casey. At halftime, I was on Jade's halftime show, and I said, hey, we finally going to get a complete game. I was completely wrong about that, but I agree with Shelby. It was all about the defense in that second half, although we did have one long drive on offense. But I think you brought up that and I'm not going to read your tweet, but we just don't compete in the third quarter. And I knew I was going to squeeze $5 out of Too Evil to Hope here. Thanks, man. Super chat's available. But you brought up the fact that on one of your tweets, third quarter. But hey, y'all, it's the fourth quarter. We're gonna, you were optimistic for the fourth quarter. What do you see about this team that we can't do crap in the third quarter, but we're always showing up on the fourth?
It's really frustrating, honestly, because I think that's the only thing holding us back. if we played as well as we've been playing in the fourth quarter, no one would have shit to say, because I think that we would be in line with the Eagles, because everyone says the Eagles are powerful, the Eagles are hungry, and we are that in the fourth quarter. We're even that. It's annoying to me that we go in and we score on almost every first drive, and then we just kind of go to shit there for a little bit, and then we come in the fourth and we fucking dominate. And it's just interesting what, I don't know, because usually you would think that you would come off of halftime and you'd be ready. And I was actually watching with the Jets fan, and he was like, literally the whole first half, he's like, I'm not even worried because third quarter we're going to come back. And I'm like, and he's like, I mean,
He's
that's
probably
just what
watched this
everyone
play.
says. You guys suck in the third quarter. And then the third quarter happens, and I'm like,
oh my God. And we go out in three and outs.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the friend that I went to the game. That's exactly what he said too. He's like, we're one of the worst third quarter teams, and the Jets are one of the best third quarter teams. So
one of the best fourth quarter teams. That's all it really matters.
Like the first drive was 2 runs, and we threw a pass to the flat. I'm like, run, pass. I'm like, oh, where did I see this before? You know, but I just the creativity was crap. But then that long drive settled me down, and there were some really good plays in that. So. I mean, it turns out to be the game winner. So, and thank God the defense, decided to, tough it out at the goal line. Otherwise, I don't think we win that game.
Speaking of the defense, Shelby, I actually wanted to ask you about this as well. What are your thoughts on Donatel and that defense? Like, because we asked Wobby last week, like we asked him if he thought it was a scheme thing or if he thought it was players, and he thought it was more players than it was scheme.
Yeah, because the first half of the season, again, I was thinking that we were doing zone coverage and they were not fast enough to get to the receivers. Like, especially if you think of the Lions game at the beginning of the year, it's like they're standing so far back and they're not getting up there fast enough. So they're getting all these yards because no one's there to tackle them. So I think that does come down to scheme, but I've always loved our defense, but it is a lot of veterans. And our corners are young. But we have what frustrates me is when you come down to maybe it is the players, because our corners in and out. Daniil Hunter is not who he used to be. I think the second half of the season he's stepped up. Also, Zadarius Smith hasn't really been around the last couple weeks. We were having some of the best pass rush in the league, and I think that we kind of dwindled a little bit. So I think it's a good even, but you also look at the Lions game from the beginning of the year, and they were going in on fourth down like crazy. And I had tweeted in that game where that just shows me that they're not really afraid of the defense. And I think that now it's a little bit different. But again, how I feel about the third quarter is how I feel about the defense, because how are y'all shit for half the game, and then the end of the fourth quarter?
Tell us what your real thing. Tell us what you're back anymore.
No. Okay? I will never lie. Okay, I am blunt, I am honest. It's just like, how did y'all not make a play? You forget how to tackle half the fucking game. And then in the fourth quarter, we've won 3 games by interceptions. You have the strip ball by Dantzler. Like, what is different? The thing I've always said about the Vikings that frustrates me is we do better when we don't know if we're going to win. Like, I think the only reason we've had games that are as close this year is because we get way too comfortable, and then we shit the bed. And then once it's like, oh wait, we actually might lose this game. Right. Let's actually try. And then everyone sees like, okay, yeah, this is a good ass team. But yeah, there's like these weird lulls. I think that Donatel's a big shift, but I do think it's just a mixture of both.
I mean, because I've always been under the impression that I thought it was a lot of scheme as well. Like even just being at the game this last week, and my friend pointed, I mean, we were talking about it the whole time. It's just the corners give like 10, 12 yards.
Yeah.
Any quarterback, and we can't get any pressure because we only send four-man rush packages normally. So, Mike White, yeah, he's a backup quarterback, but any quarterback in the NFL can make a throw if he has all the time in the world and those guys are wide open. Like he'll be able to make some sort of a pass to move the ball down the field. So that's been frustrating. But Cam Bynum kind of mentioned after this last game, it's like you notice like the big time players come up with a play that they need to, and we've seen that like you talked about multiple times to win the game. And that's kind of what Cam Bynum said is like, yeah, I get it. Like we've been in a lot of these games to us, it's just another play. Like that's kind of what it's come down to now. It's just another play. We don't even think about it as a game, like 4th and 10 game on the line situation. We just think it's football. We're in the situation all the time, every week. It's just another game. So
and
it's weird. And I think all that does come down to the attitude of the coach, where I think Kevin O'Connell has been a major reason why this team is doing what they're doing this year. If there's, I'll go man crush mode here. I love Kevin O'Connell.
I love him.
Oh, I thought he was about to say Jared Goff.
Oh, I hate Jared Goff. Jared Goff's not that good. Kevin O'Connell.
No, I think
to give some credit to the defense a little bit, as we have been hard on them. Although they did give up 480 yards, they went the Jets went 3 for 16 on third down, and they went 1 for 6 in the red zone. So there's a lot to be said there. They scored 1 touchdown, right? They scored 1 touchdown, which is kind of crazy. And we stopped them at the goal line, and of course that pick at the end. But yeah, 1 and 6 in the red zone, and 3 for 16 on third downs. So people can say the defense had a lot to do with us winning that game, and I agree, Shelby. I think I feel like it's almost we get that lead and then we get conservative. I just feel like we're getting conservative. Our yards per pass or our yards per play is even a yard per play down from last year, and we thought we were conservative last year.
Yeah,
right. So it's really odd that we go to an offensive-minded coach, and in a lot of cases, we're just as conservative coming out of the half as we were, before.
Well,
go ahead, Jamie.
I was going to say, and some of our best second and third quarters offensively come from when we're also behind. So it's like as long as we're behind, our offense steps up and goes down and scores. And it does. So it's like we are being conservative or something. I don't know what it is. It's like we need to always be behind just for our offense to be firing.
That's the game plan.
And that's what it feels like. Get behind. So I don't know. Hopefully going forward, because in playoffs, I don't think it's going to work like that. I think, which we're about to go into playoffs, I don't think we're going to be able to keep doing it, playing like that. We're going to have big second quarter, third quarters, with already being in the lead. We can't just expect to, don't get me wrong. If we play to the end of the fourth every single game and end up winning, that's great. But then we play against these teams against like Dallas and Eagles who beat us. They don't let it get to the fourth quarter. And that's been a problem for this team this year, is if it doesn't get to the fourth quarter, we can't do anything. So we have to keep it going all the way up to that point. And then another thing I want to say was on defense. One thing I think a reason why we step up at the end of games defensively is I feel like Ed Donatello runs a lot more blitzes at the end. I feel like we don't see many blitzes from him throughout the game.
And he disguises his coverage too.
And disguises
he disguises his pressures. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. And so I think that's like a big thing. So that's something I've been wondering this entire season is why, especially with all the pass rushers we have, is why we do not run a lot of blitzes. Yeah. And the commentators and stuff last game were talking about it a lot, actually, about how we don't call very many blitzes. And we have Zadarius Smith and we have Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, because before I was watching like the preview for this game last week, they were talking about how we don't blitz. And I hadn't even really thought about it. But then, you watch the game and you're like, okay, we have these two crazy players. What is the deal with not doing that? But I think the conservative issue for offense and defense side of the ball is I almost wonder if it's like we're saving these like good plays for only when we need them, because the Thanksgiving game. I was at that game, and the throw to Thielen for the touchdown. I had watched the press conference after, and O'Connell was like, "Oh yeah, we had been waiting to use that play," and the guys were always like, "When are you going to use this play? When are you going to use this play?" And that was the time that I finally decided to use it. And that's kind of where I'm like, again, it was a situation that we like needed to use it. And same thing with the defense. All of a sudden, when we need to use these big plays, when we need to blitz, we do it. And I think that is the difference between the Eagles and the Vikings, where the Eagles, the entire game, they are playing as if they're not winning. Same with the Cowboys. This last game was embarrassing. I like felt uncomfortable watching it. I felt better about our loss.
You tweeted that.
Yeah.
But I was watching and I'm like, I feel like we're the nice guys of the league. Like we're a very family oriented team. We're a very close team. We got the Minnesota nice thing. Everyone says we're the nicest fans. But also, like, we're not, everyone's always like, oh, they're a bend, don't break. They're a bend, don't break. They're not, like, real competitors. And it's like, but we show that we can. It's just for some reason we're not calling those plays throughout the whole game. And I don't know if it's O'Connell, like, oh, let me just wait till the playoffs and then we'll just whip this whole playbook out.
Hopefully.
And he, like, doesn't want to show his cards too
KFC
early.
whips out his playbook in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know, something though, because even like as you say that, our first drives, like you said, we score like every time on our very first drives, and we have all these like crazy plays, like JJ getting the ball, throwing it, whatever, like all these creative plays, and then after that drive, you see the creativity drop off dramatically. Then it just becomes just, I don't know, normal play calling, I guess. So that's something that I've noticed with them is I don't know why they go away from that so early. Obviously, KOC is a first-year head coach, still 10-2, which is fantastic. So of course, there's going to be a lot for him to learn and all that stuff. But one thing I did want to bring up is this. I hope I didn't miss the segment on Lions being 2.5 favorites versus the Vikings this week. To me, that is absolutely crazy. They changed. What is it now?
2.5 favorites to us, I'm pretty sure.
I think it started out that way, but I think it's switched.
I thought I saw a tweet today where it was like, we're back to favorites, but maybe I was reading that
I can
wrong.
check, but
I'm looking on ESPN right now. They still have the Lions as the 2.5 point favorite.
I don't really know much about because negative like that doesn't even make sense to me. I'm like,
they're just they're favored
not a gambling man either.
Yeah. If it's negative 2.5, the team is favored. So if the Vikings are negative 2.5, they're favored by 2.5. And the reason why it's a half is so there's not a tie. Drew Stratton is I thought now it's negative 2.5. Yeah, so Drew Stratton is from my past. He's in a fantasy league that I was in like 10 years ago. Or 8 years ago that I dropped out of, and they got word that I was on a YouTube channel, so they decided to show up today. So and there's Brett Kaplan, Drew Stratton, Benjamin Turner are all on here to give me crap about the Minnesota Vikings. So that's why they're there. But you can put their stuff up if you want. Yeah, but they decided to spam me.
So, but yeah, the Vikings at the end of the day, it's the Lions are favored over the Vikings. I know the Lions are home, but still the 5-7 Lions over the 10-2 Vikings, where it doesn't make any sense to me. Because if you go even into grading, I know the Lions have stepped up the last few weeks or whatever. They still lost to the Bills, a team that we beat, and we already beat the Lions. But if you just straight look at like the teams, like our offense versus their offense. And Casey kind of went into it already. Is I think we have far superior players. I mean, maybe Casey wouldn't totally agree with that. Since we
and here's what happens. Here's what happens is that there's more betting on Detroit. There's more betting on Detroit, and it moved the line. And so what do they have? What does Vegas do? They move the line towards Detroit. to get other people to bet on the Vikings because they don't want to lose their ass when 80% of the betting's going to one team. They got to do that because they're making their money off the juice, the cut they get on every bet that's made and every payout that's made. So that's why a game moves like that when it's close. I think we opened up favorites and then people started betting the Lions because they won 40-10 or last week, and we barely hung on, and we're going on the road. So that is it for guys that are asking in the chat. That is my viewpoint and why the Minnesota Vikings are not favored against Detroit.
Yeah, two things I did want to point out since we're talking about the teams versus each other. This one, no, but nice try. And
that's my buddy.
And the second one, we gave you the game last year in Detroit, so you giving us the game this year was perfectly fine. So we'll just take the game this year, the second one.
Well,
so
we just won't let you win this time.
Yeah, I
although
can't
Casey's
really
a big fan.
I'm too worried.
I'm not a big fan.
I'm not too worried. The Lions have this, according to PFF, they have a 62. What was it? Let me see here. 56.8 defensive grade, which is 6th worst in the NFL. We actually have the 6th best in the NFL, which doesn't make tons of sense for some reason. But I don't know. I mean, I just rate on paper, I don't see how, like, if they had a better defense, I would kind of understand it a little bit more. But for us to have the better offense and defense, I don't see how they're favored. I don't know.
But did you guys see the bullshit about there was a guy, I retweeted it and I said something about it, but he had told people to bet on the Jets because the Illuminati wanted the Jets to win and it was obvious and all this fucking
hopefully
bullshit.
No one listened to him.
It's just a matter of time that the Vikings have a big upset. And it's okay, I get it. And I get with the Lions, I think, because again, everyone looks at last year and that was embarrassing. I was so pissed that game. But I think because we played them already and we saw the holes and we saw the things that we could do differently. And again, I said the defense was the biggest issue in that game. We have come a very far way since then.
And they don't have TJ Hawkinson this time.
Exactly.
How they score 40 points with no TJ? It's kind of
because
weird.
they have a Monroe St. Brown who's pretty good.
I hear he's good.
Plus,
I hear he's good.
Actually, so I wanted to mention, so they lost to the Bills, they beat the Jaguars, and they beat the Giants. So they beat they got 40 on the Jaguars and 30 something on the Giants. Those two teams are two of the worst teams according to PFF defensively, and they are number 30 and 31 in coverage. So you're also talking about some very bad defenses in coverage, much worse than us. So, I mean, that's worth bringing up too.
Yeah, the Jaguars,
they don't have impressive wins.
Yeah, you're worried they dropped 40 on the Jaguars. Yeah, hooray. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence is one of the biggest upsets. He's like a Baker or like a Johnny Manziel where he had so much hype. It's what is he doing in the league? But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily. It'd be different if they beat the Cowboys or something crazy like that. But the Jaguars, the Giants.
It's been a long while since they scared the Eagles. Remember, early in the year they scared the Eagles, and then of course they scared us.
Yeah.
So it has been a while. It has been a while. So
yeah, I'm not worried about it, and that's why it fires me up, because obviously us Vikings are hoping some people just give us that little bit of respect to some extent. I get it because it comes to the end of the game every single time, but still 10-2, you're gonna pick the Lions. So that's why I think in this game, I think our players definitely know they're not favored in this game. So I think our players are gonna be fired up. And I think this is going to be the game where we fire on all cylinders for throughout the entire game. I don't think it's going to be close at all. And I think it's going to be the first win since the Packers that we have a comfortable win in a big dominant win. I think it's going to be stress-free, and I think we're finally going to get our chill game this weekend. So.
Jamie, you must not have been watching these games all year long, man. Come on.
It's going to happen. It has to happen. And this is going to be the game.
He did pick us to go 17-0.
As soon as you make the Lions the favorite, I think that's when you cross the line for Vikings players.
It is a little disrespectful, I think. And I think the test part of this game is that we're coming off another emotional win, right? We're coming off 2 emotional wins. And how are we going to react? So unlike, I was pretty happy the fact that Dallas and the Eagles happened earlier in the year, right? And not in the playoffs. So the fact that we can get used to this type of experience in the regular season, I think that helps us for if this was to happen in the playoffs. So I'm really interested in seeing how we react after coming off another emotional win and playing on the road. I think that's the test part of it for me, because I don't want a big letdown like we had against Dallas, and that was at home.
I don't think that would happen.
No.
A loss. A loss is a letdown for me with the.
I was going to say that because that Buffalo game.
Let me clarify that.
There's a lot more behind that Buffalo game than there was the Jets game. Like that Buffalo game was that game we weren't supposed to win on the road and found the way. That game was fun.
Well, and the Cowboys game, I would never say that I want a loss, but I think that, at the same time we were coming off the Buffalo win and we had a big stretch. We had the Buffaloes, then we had the Cowboys and the Patriots and the Jets. Like we already knew that those were going to be tough games, and I didn't want us to lose that badly, obviously, but I think that we needed that fire under us again, because even the Eagles said when they had their loss against the Commanders, there was a player that was like, this brings the fans back down to reality. It brings us back down to there's only one team to ever go in a perfect season. That's the Dolphins. It's just not realistic. And I think for a team like us that does better with adversity, that loss was kind of good for us. But again, I'm not too worried about this week. I was worried last week, to be honest. I was being realistic. And that was probably the only win this year that I was really not happy about. Obviously you're happy about a win, but just watching that game was what are y'all doing?
Right when we finally had that lead going into half. Well, of course, right at the end of half, right before the half, they still come down with 40 seconds or whatever and kick a field goal. It's just a field goal, but it's that we do that seems like another thing we do almost every game is we just let them come down and score some points right before half. And then we come out in the third quarter not doing anything. So, I mean, it is frustrating because, you do get your hopes up. This is going to be that game where we finally just destroy this Jets team. And you said you were at the game, Shelby?
No,
you weren't. Oh, okay. And Casey was at the game.
Buster's.
So
Dave and Buster's.
That's right. You're
one of the two. Sorry, Dave and Buster's.
But yeah, Casey was at the game. So I mean, for him, I'm sure it was really the highs and lows and
my hands were red because I was clapping him so much, trying to get loud for the defense to do something at the end of that game. It was it was a lot of fun.
He was actually checking the score of the Lions game.
Yeah, I know. Ooh, the Lions are up 40-14.
I was checking the score because if they lost, we would have won the division. So that was the only reason I was watching.
I'm kidding, man.
And then, I'm not gonna love you. But then, of course, it was
Jamie's house
showing the scoreboard and nobody, showing the scores. No one cared. The Packers game come up, they're losing 16-0. The place erupted. Showed the next score, nothing. Flipped it back to the Packers score. The place erupted again. And then the Packers came back, of course, and won the game. And now all their fans. And now their fans are talking we want the Vikings in the playoffs. We're on the table. We're not worried about you guys there in the playoffs. I'm like, just shut up, you guys. Yeah, I'm sure they did this. They did this earlier too. We beat the Cowboys. That's it. We're going on a run. Then you lose to the Titans. You come back and you beat the Bears. Now you're on your bye week, whatever. But they Packers fans do this. They don't understand what it's like to lose. So now that they're doing it, they think every win they're just going to bounce back and run the table.
That's so annoying. That's so.
I've been getting in some drama with Packers fans, so.
So you've been on some other podcasts with other fans?
Yeah, take an opportunity to explain that, where you're at on YouTube.
Yeah, so I'm on a podcast for the NFC North. So we have something like this, except it would be like I'm the Vikings fan. We'd have a Lions, a Bears, and a Packers. Sometimes we have like me and this guy named Dave is another Vikings fan, and then the Packers fans kind of shift. Maybe we'll have like 2 Packers fans one week, 2 Bears fans, but it's a Bears guy that it's his podcast, and then everyone else is kind of more guests. But I'm the person, me and Dave are on the most consistently. Like I've been on every week for, I don't know, maybe 2 months. But it's interesting because we talk about all the games, like all the NFC North games, and then it's just the Packers fans. There's some of them that are realistic, but most of them, they still got so much shit to say. And I always, because all they have to say is Rodgers, and I'm like, have you been watching this year?
No, it's called
you gotta remember,
outdated, right?
He's got the broken thumb.
Yeah, he's got the broken thumb. That's the only reason why the Packers are losing.
There's always an excuse. There's always
took them 10 weeks to say it, but
there's always some sort of excuse with Aaron Rodgers to why he's not playing well when he has a bad stretch. There's always something.
Yeah,
it's annoying. He's a
pussy.
Yes, yes.
He needs to go on an ayahuasca trip again, I think.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just so everybody knows, the podcast Shelby is on is there's a link in the description of the video below, and make sure you hit subscribe, like, and comment to enter our contest. Thought I'd plug that one more time.
I'll be on that after this show. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah, comment. You win that jersey. But yeah. I put her Twitter, her Instagram, and her YouTube, and later I'll probably go put in what's it called? I closed it out. That shit, Skol. What was it called again? What was the website?
The Twitter for the brand is called Aries Archive.
Okay.
But like our actual website is called thatshit.org.
Thatshit.org is going to be in the description below too.
Easy.
All right. Well, so before we sign off here, I already gave my score prediction. Let's go around the table with the rest of you guys. What do you got? Score predictions.
I think 28-17 Vikings.
Oh, that's close to mine. Dave, I'll let you go.
I'm going to go last, man.
Okay. So 20, you said 28-17.
Yeah.
So you think it's going to be more than a 1-score game as well. Just like I was saying that I think this is going to be the game that we easily win, and we score a lot early and we hold that lead for the entire game. So I think I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to go 34-17. I think we're going to beat that 30 and not let them get past 20. I think this is going to be a good game for us.
I'm going 31-17.
Okay, we all kind of in line.
31-17.
Have you guys been watching this team this year? Jeez,
31-17.
It's not going to be that easy.
That disrespect, dude.
I've only given us two score leads 2 other times.
This is it.
I tried it once and it was Washington, and I told Jamie I promised I would never do it again.
Yeah, he did. So that's fair. Last week was the first time I didn't do it, which ended up being smart play. But this week, I feel good about this one. Yeah, I do feel good about this one. Our players have to know that all the disrespect. So
I gotta ask, what's your cat's name?
Oh, can you see? You can just see.
Oh yeah, he's right there.
Yeah. Nope.
His name is Vader.
Vader.
Awesome.
Like Darth Vader.
Yeah, I do a Star Wars podcast too. So.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to be on that.
Well, I don't do anything live yet. It's still in the infancy stage, but yeah, I do Star Wars, Marvel, and more.
I collect Darth Vader stuff.
Cool.
Oh.
Darth Vader is like the coolest villain in Star Wars history. I mean, there's no
one of the coolest villains in all of history.
Very true.
Yeah.
So cool. Fortnite put him in the game. You know, that's how you know he's big.
Yeah.
Only the
Yeah,
biggest
we could really dive into that, but I will go on like I will go down a spiral.
It just came from the comic book store.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to my YouTube channel, and I'll try to put out more stuff. And I actually am doing I'm doing a Darth Vader series where I'm actually doing narration with. I put the pages up and narrate it. But I'm on like issue 6 of like his 2015 series. So yeah, I do a lot of Vader and Star Wars stuff. So hey, that's cool. That's cool. I dig you. Good job.
Thank
you. You're a sports fan and a Star Wars fan. And how many people have asked you to marry you after telling them that? Star Wars and a Vikings fan? What the hell?
I get at least a proposal a day on Twitter. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, there was one guy, and to be honest, it was smart because he was like, the Vikings, or as a Vikings fan, we may never get a ring, but I'll give you this one. And he like put a ring emoji. And I was like, okay, that's actually good.
Yeah, like that was close. Close. All right, let me go rewrite another one.
Yeah, like, that was...
Changes Twitter profile, sends another message.
Sends another message.
Some people are really clever, like, and I get a nice little laugh, but then a lot of times I'll be sitting there, just for anyone that's watching. When you send me weird stuff, I'll literally be with my friends and I'm like, look at what this fucking weirdo just said.
Colton, Colton, you heard her.
Yeah, there's been a guy in here fanboying about you this whole thing. Oh, hey, Bandito, thanks for showing up, man. Hey, guys, Drew, Ben, Brett, thanks for showing up today. Any last thoughts on the game, Shelby?
I'm just excited to be there. I feel blessed. I'm trying to see the Vikings at every stadium.
Awesome.
This is my 11th stadium, and it's going to be on December 11th. So I think that alone,
that's cool.
Giving out good vibes.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited for a good game. I just feel really good. I feel that this is a special year, no matter what.
This has been a good season, man. I mean, this is one of the best seasons, other than 2009 in the 2009 for me. Because like you said, Adrian Peterson, when we drafted Adrian Peterson, that was kind of like when
won me a fantasy league. I drafted him in the 3rd round.
I've drafted Randy Moss first overall pick that year randomly. He just got traded to the Patriots. It was lucky. Anyways, but that was Adrian Peterson's rookie year was when I was a Viking fan. I was young or whatever, it was like 12. And then Adrian Peterson came and boom, the rest is history after that.
Yep, same.
Yeah. So my first big season of Vikings fan was 2009 because I decided to start playing football at that time in high school, and like I watched that season. I'm just like sitting around like, what's everybody always complaining with this team for? This is amazing. And then the rest of it happened, and I'm like, I get it now. But at that point, I was already hooked.
So 2017, and then now 2022, and hopefully this one ends in a Super Bowl win.
For sure.
And I'm not going to talk about when I became a fan.
I have never cried that hard.
But hey, here's a quote from Shelby Tweeten. People, and this is someone was talking about how like this type of season's not happened in a long time, and it's pretty long, so I won't read that. But I'll read Shelby's response. People may want to talk shit that we've been barely winning, but this shit is not normal. We got something special, and we're doing what we need to do. Skol Vikings.
Let's go.
There we go. Let's go. Hey, thanks everybody for showing up.
Yeah.
This is the Skol Experience. Casey, Jamie, Shelby, and Dave. Shelby, come back again. Yes, we loved you. Our listeners loved you, and I can't wait to have you on again. Let's go beat those Lions. Beat the Motor City Kitties. 31-17. Skol Vikes.
Skol.
All right.
Thanks, guys.